I am so excited to be here. It is Monday Motivational Moments with Marissa. It's your life, own it. And faithful as always, taking center stage and owning it with me today is Nathaniel X. Ross. And I love saying your name. You know, I'm like fixated on your name. We are so excited to be here this morning to talk to you about really self motivation. And our focus this month, all month long, we'll be talking about finishing up the first quarter of the year. And the importance and the power of the SWOT analysis. And for many of you who are familiar with SWOT analysis, sometimes we take for granted the resources that we have and we've been exposed to within our companies and organizations that we don't utilize them effectively in our own personal lives. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Whatever you want to look at it, the point is this: it's time to do an assessment. We're finishing out the first quarter of the year, and you need to check in with yourself. How well have you been doing? What are your thoughts, Nathaniel?
All I can say is time is passing by quickly. We're through the first quarter of the year. Before you know it, the year is going to be over. And either you are where you are, either you're in the same place or you've moved forward.
Mhm.
So, this is just a tool we're going to talk about today that's going to help you to move forward.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to say to our audience, sometimes we don't realize who's in front of us. And trust me, if you're looking to transition from your full-time position into full-time entrepreneurship, you really want to be the CEO of your life, your career, your business. I've done that. I've done that from a purely entrepreneurial stance. And Nathaniel here is one who has become a multimillionaire in his 30s, and we are early 30s, late 20s, whatever. It was early on. So the people that are talking to you today are folks that are talking to you about the grounded foundational work that needs to be done in order for you to really live that fulfilling life, the life that you really, really want to live, you feel good about, that you wake up every morning. I had one woman say to me when I was getting breakfast, I think it was maybe the second day I was in Dubai, and I had my papers out because I'm a note taker. Like, I take notes through all our interviews and things like that on just revelation that's coming, because not only am I sitting to, pour motivation into others and inspire others, and also not just to inspire you, but also give you the steps and the things that are necessary for you to achieve what it is that you're looking to achieve. I also learn. I learn as I teach. I don't know if you do that, Nathaniel, but I learn as I teach. I want to always be open to learning and growing. And that's another reason why we're saying to you, it's time to check in. It's April. We're still at the top of the year. It's time to check in. And she said to me, she said, he said, that looks like a lot of hard work. Because when I say to you, I had my spread out. I had my stuff spread out so that I could get organized and make sure I was on the top of my stay in Dubai. And I looked up and said to her, I said, well, you know what? It's not a lot of work when you work for yourself and you love what you do. And so she walked away from that saying, yes, because when you fully work for yourself and you have control over how you're going to make your money, where you're going to make your money, and you're the boss, and you're doing what you really love to do, when you're aligned with your design, it's a whole different ball game. It's a totally different ball game. And we want to make sure that you have that. We want to give you, we want to provoke you to think in that way. We want to give you the audacity to believe that you can do it. And then we want to catapult you in believing not only that you can and you have the attitude, but that you have the determination to make sure it happens for you. And so, talking about the, assessing, talk to the folks today about how do you assess, like how do they apply that SWOT analysis to themselves, and why is that important?
Well, before we talk about that, let me just piggyback on what you said about people who have made it and learn while they're teaching and helping other folks. Most folks think that, well, if you're a true teacher, anytime you interact with someone and you're teaching someone something, you're going to make finer distinctions.
Mm-hmm.
And as you make those finer distinctions, it makes you better. But you can't have that without the interaction of sharing knowledge with someone else. I remember, well, it's been a number of years now, but Jack Canfield. I was talking with Jack Canfield, and we were in California together, and I said to him, you know, we actually went to the same entrepreneurial business school, and we both graduated from the same accelerated business school for entrepreneurs. And I said to him, you know, why are you here? And for those who don't know, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole host of other books and personal growth and development, etc. But he was actually going back and went through the class again. And I said to him, why are you going through the class again? And he said, distinctions. It doesn't matter how successful I am. I go through these classes and I pick up something I didn't pick up the time before and the time before that. So, you know, you never arrive, you never make it, you only get better. But you keep teaching and you keep sharing so that you can make further distinctions to become better and better.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? What I got was this. Well, first of all, understanding is revolutionary. It's uh, in the sense that when you are gaining more knowledge, you're gaining more understanding. And when you're gaining more knowledge and understanding, and you're going out and you're experiencing life, there's more enlightenment. So this is what I got. Knowledge is always elevating,
Yep.
it's always evolving, and it's always solving, right? So
Yeah.
it's solving some gap in your understanding, gap in your resources, because the more that you go out, the more that you have knowledge, the more that you know what your resources are and you know how to utilize those resources. That's why learning applied is so critically important, because learning applied in real life is where real life experience is happening. And that's where confidence is also built up.
Yeah.
To believe that you can do all the things that you set out and desire to do. It's through the application that confidence is built.
Yeah. And I think we've, as a society, have made a huge mistake because we abbreviate, we shorten everything. Knowledge is power. And everybody knows that saying, knowledge is power. But knowledge is not power if it's not applied.
Yep.
We've cut the thing down to knowledge is power, and people walking around quoting that and saying, no, knowledge is power when applied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
Or you could say knowledge is power, but it's powerful when it's applied.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because the audacity comes through the consistency and applying it. That's where the audacity comes from, because now you know it. You don't just have knowledge of it, you know it for yourself and you can apply it. So my suggestion is to sit back and like we said, own its foundation is built on self-awareness, should lead you to self-development. And self-development and self-awareness is simple. It's like, I know who I am. I'm now aware of who I am, where I have strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And self-development is the part of saying, I want to strengthen my weak areas and I want to change my threats into opportunities for further growth or advancement. And in doing both of those, becoming more self-aware, developing yourself should lead you to self-mastery. And self-mastery is just simply a peace of mind and knowing that you know who you are, You know what makes you tick. You know what ticks you off, and you know how to navigate through that successfully. You know your go-tos. You know your resources. You know when there are setbacks. You know how to help yourself. Move past that. That self mastery. It's not about being perfect, but it's about knowing yourself well enough to know how to navigate, see traps and snares before you're in them, before you're overcome by them, and just know how to self develop. Bring
Yeah,
yourself
but
back.
you oversimplify that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, slow me down.
Look, most people don't know who they are. So you'll know yourself, and everybody go, "Oh yeah, I know who I am." No, you don't. I just did a workshop of professionals. Some were emerging leaders, and others were advanced in their profession, their careers. And I asked them, "Who are you?" And the answer was unbelievable. Nope, nobody had the answer, right? They thought they did. Everyone was like, "Oh, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a brother, sister. I'm a vice president of this, I'm a manager of that." And I'm like, we went through this exercise, and I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, everybody, you just explained to me what you do, but who are you?" So I had to end up teaching them how to discover themselves. And that was a great experience, because as I'm teaching them, I'm getting more and more insight, right?
Right.
But I just didn't want you to blow by that, like, know you, because most people don't know who they are.
No, they don't. And that's why for this show, and oftentimes for the work that I do, I don't look for quantity. I don't, because a lot of people don't want to know themselves. They don't take the time to get to know themselves. Um, and I have a good friend, she talks about the matrix, right? She says, you got to come out of the matrix. And I said to her, I said, you really have to explain the concept of the matrix,
Yep.
right? You have to
Yep.
really explain the concept of the matrix. And we live in a society, it's sadly to say, that they don't want to be unplugged. They want to have the steak. They want to be the girl in the red dress. They want to have, they don't want to deal with the hard work that it takes in knowing yourself. And I don't say it simply. It may sound simple, but I don't say that simply. I actually say that with a full heart's conviction and very deep passion to say, get to know yourself. Spend time with yourself. When I had the opportunity to go to Dubai, I came to the table at the end of the game. So they had already been meeting. They had already been talking about the trip. So I came in at the very tail end of jumping on the bandwagon to go. And someone else wouldn't do that because they don't know themselves enough. They're not confident enough. But I traveled completely to Dubai and from Dubai alone. And someone else would say, oh, that's crazy. No, I know who I am. I am comfortable enough with myself to go and to do this. But
Yep.
that takes time of being by yourself. I moved to the Dominican Republic by myself. This is not about bragging. This is about knowing who you are, knowing how to behave when you go places, knowing when to open up your mouth and when to be quiet, when and always to observe. This takes the time to know yourself and have fun with yourself and in love with yourself and know who you are. There are multifaceted. So when you ask someone, who are you? It really depends on who the asker is. What context is the asker asking the individual? Because in one context, yeah, I am a mom and a grandma. I was a wife. I am a single woman. But I'm also an interrupter. I'm also I can be an alpha female or I could be one who follows. There are multi dimensions to ourselves, and we have to understand that we're multi-dimensional. that there are times when we're going to be wearing one hat, and then there's the times that we're going to be wearing another. It's just how many hats are we willing to be flexible enough to wear, and to what capacity do we have the ability to navigate between each title. So it is complex in that way, but it's simple when we get to know each other and don't get stuck on titles.
Yep.
And I like what Jacqueline, my girl Jacqueline Lulu Brown says, ease and flow. You have to learn how to ease and flow in whichever capacity you need to show up in. And that's why it's so important for us to do the SWOT analysis. It's
Yeah.
also skills needs analysis. You need to know what skill sets you have.
Yeah.
You
And I know when you're sharing this information, I know that you're sharing it from a deep place.
Ooh, my God.
I just don't want people who are listening to just, hear the words and just take it as something simplistic, because it's not. And that's what most people do. They hear something, they go, "Oh, I got that, I know it." No, you don't. You only know what was shared with you, and you have to dig deeper in order to truly understand the message that's being communicated. So that's why I was trying to slow you down, because
No. And I'm glad you did.
Huh?
No, I'm glad you did, because that's what this particular platform really is about. It's your life, own it.
Yep.
And we want to make sure people really understand that this is not, this is the deep tissue work that needs to be done. These are the conversations no one really wants to take the time to have. You can go to different motivational platforms and they're going to rile you up. But at the end of the day, you still have to go back home and you still have to make some behavioral changes. You have to do some mindset changes.
Yeah. So let me share this lesson before we go into SWOT analysis, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
When when we say know who you are, you got to know yourself. It's not the things that you do. It's not the hats that you wear. It's the essence of your being, that you can walk into a space and not say a word, and they go, "Ah, she's in charge." Without Marissa opening her mouth, someone say she's in charge, because the essence of leadership comes out of her without her saying, "I'm a leader." And that's what we're talking about. Understand who you are from your being, that shows up with you everywhere that you show up. So if one of your essence is leadership, or you are a leader, it's going to show up in the home, it's going to show up at work, it's going to show up in your friendships, it's going to show up in the community. And that's why it's important to understand who you are, and as opposed to what you do.
Yeah. It's so important, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. We want, if we're talking about a lot of mental health and wellness, and we're talking about so many people being depressed, everyone's not clinically depressed. I think some of the depression is coming from not having the allowance to be authentically yourself. And so when you don't have the allowance either internally or externally by those influences, what we're doing is we're suppressing our true fulfillment. And what I would like to see in having these kind of conversations and provoking and encouraging people to do the assessments that are required, the self assessments that are required for them to break free and really live and be true to themselves. I could tell you, you know how many comments I would receive. Good morning, viewers. You know how many comments I would receive. Um, this was earlier in my life. Marissa, it's crazy for you to travel by yourself. Marissa, I don't think you should do this. And what makes you qualified to do that? And if I didn't have the level of self-awareness that I have today, there's a lot that I would not do. And I would still be working for someone else because that's comfortable. It's comfortable and it's safe. That's why the matrix is so true. They want to stay there because it's comfortable and it's safe. But then you never get to know what you could have accomplished in your life. You just never get to know that. And it's so amazing. There's a whole world out there for you to see if you just venture out and go see it, and stop allowing people to talk you, stop allowing yourself self-sabotage to talk you out of living your life. Um, Stop allowing people pushing and bullying you into thinking that you need to stay in your lane. This is your lane. It's your turn up on the runway. Take center stage and own it. That's what this is all about. And I'm going to tell you, just to share with you, um, you're talking about seeing heaven on earth. And I know listen, I love how, and now it's coming to blank, but Indy Irie said every place has a ghetto. So we already know that no matter where you go, there's going to be poor people, there's going to be struggles. But I tell you what, going to the mosque in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, to see the meticulousness that they dealt with in dealing that architecture, you know, had I waited for all my ducks to be in a row and everything to be perfect in my life, I would have never been able to travel and go see, if I would have just been waiting to make sure that some people, because if you have, you ever wanted to do something and you go check with your circle and say, hey girls, you guys want to do this, and everybody's got all their details and all their needs. Next thing you know, you're not doing it. Or if you go with them, you didn't really have a good time. But when you know yourself and you love yourself enough, you are able to go by yourself. You're able to go. My sister, she was just in Costa Rica, and we're chit chatting and we're talking, and she's like, Marissa, I always travel by myself. And I said, Judy, you always travel by yourself? And she's like, yeah, I always travel by myself. So I made sure, she's my younger sister. So I said to her, hey, we're older now. And of course she's going, I said, make sure you just check with me to let me know when you've gone, when you've come back. And if you have any kind of things in between, we just need to know where you are. I didn't tell her, girl, you don't need to be traveling by yourself. Girl, she's been doing this for years already. What I did say was, hey, just let me know when you're here. Let me know when you're there. Let me know. We just need to know the information, and we need to know the destination. Where are you physically supposed to be located? Where? We just need the itinerary. But I did not tell her, no, you shouldn't be going. I didn't inject that negativity because I did not want to clip her wings. We don't need to be clipping one another's wings. We need to be inspiring, but we need to hold accountable that your safety is there. And that's exactly what I do with my children. Hey, mom is here, there, here I am, there. But guess what? I'm living a fulfilling life. I got to go. I got to see. I got to explore. So who's happy inside? Me. I'm happy inside. And I was safe, secure the whole way through. The whole way through, safe and secure. And what I really loved about that trip too was we didn't just see the commercialism. Our lead and coordinator for that, we got to go to the Gold Souk, which is their local marketplace. It's not one of the tourist areas. Unless you know who you know, you probably will miss going to the Gold Souk. It's where they have their authentic, the jewelry. They even will make your name and different things like that. They'll make some jewelry customized to you. And you got to see all their clothing, and you got to see their marketplace. And so we actually got to see that as well. So that was beautiful. So when you go like that, it's incredible, and it builds you up. So now the next trip is to Bali. Before I even go to Aruba, it's to Bali. So guess what? Like I said, knowledge is always elevating.
Yeah.
So I made connections while I was in Dubai. So guess what? When I'm ready to go Dubai again, if somebody wants to go, hey, here's so-and-so. Look him up and he will help you with this. Look this person up, and they will help you with this. So you get more knowledge, you get more connections, and it's evolving. You get to know more and more and more, and you get to live more and more and more. And so I'm ready to go into this route and that. But I know you're gonna come back because
No, we're going to Bali, and we're going at the end of the year. We're going November and through
oh,
January.
get out of here. We are looking to go in June. We're
Yeah, we're
looking to
going
go.
Bali, Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Laos.
No, Bali is up next for me,
Yeah,
and possibly in June. I'll keep everybody posted on that, but possibly we're going to be going in June.
good.
But it's so important. It's so important to do the very thing. So the Dominican Republic, when everyone comes here, I've not done zip lining. So part of the excursion for the retreat here in the Dominican, that's going to be in the Dominican Republic, I'm going to do the zip lining. I've not done that.
That's
Yeah, I am. I'm going
fun.
to do the zip lining. The other thing I want to do too is rock climbing. So I want to do the rock climbing as well. So, you got, and the more that you do these things that you like, not if people in your circle like them, not if anyone gets to understand you, the more that you do these things, the more that you deal with stress better. Let
Yep.
me tell you something. When you're happy, and let's say you have, like even here at this hotel I'm staying at, some of the things I ask them is like, back in the U.S., I hate to say it, customer services. Ugh. And so I asked them about something, and the attitude was whatever. And it's like, now, if I'm not happy in my life, that just accelerates it, right? So now I'm not going to turn and say to them, okay, thank you so very much. I'm going to turn around, and that is going to be tit for tat. My anger with their anger with my anger. And so the revelation that God gave me today was, Marissa, you are so happy in your life that even though they're not giving you the best customer service, you can still smile. Because guess what? You're so happy that this is so low level to you and that they don't get it about customer service and how this place will continue to go down the way it looks like it's going down if they don't check themselves. You're so far removed from other people's negativity when you take the time to do all of the things that you really, truly love.
Yep.
You'll be happy even when everybody else around you is angry. Your joy internally will be bubbling over so much that even the people that are annoyed and frustrated around you will become happy.
Yeah, you know what? And you and I will talk all day on here about all kinds of stuff. We got to get to this SWOT analysis before we run out of time. But the SWOT is really looking in the mirror. Some people are familiar with it from corporate America. Some people aren't. So really you're looking at your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities to make changes, and any threats that are potentially there. So it's looking in the mirror and saying, okay, here's my life. What strengths do I have in my life? What is it that I'm really, really good at? And inventorying that. And then looking at your life and where most people don't and go, what are my weaknesses? And then you got to not only identify what the weakness is, but identify people who can help you to strengthen those weaknesses, that can support you through that process. And then opportunities, which you were just talking about, the opportunity to go to Bali, to go to Dubai, or there are all kinds of opportunities that come up in your life, and we make excuses not to go, right? Which is a weakness. So you need to, as you're looking at that SWOT, that's a weakness that you can't take advantage of these opportunities. So how do I surround myself with people who are going to help me to see that I should be and could take advantage of those opportunities. And then the threats, you're really looking at what people around you are taking you away from all the other good stuff, right?
Mhm.
What's there that's going to be detrimental to you? And then how do you eliminate that threat? Um, and that's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of sharing with other people. It's coming out of your comfort zone,
Mhm.
because that's where learning really happens, is when you're uncomfortable.
Right, right. When you're being stretched.
Yes.
That's the major thing, is when you're being stretched. And so, as you said, doing the analysis, doing the assessment, because really what you're doing is, and I find that, there's a number of people who are familiar with the SWOT analysis, and I use that pretty much in everything that I do with coaching toward development, is that the SWOT analysis, because just like you said, you're introduced to it in the corporate environment. You're introduced to it in organizational development. You're introducing it. But what I did was say, you need to cross this over and do an analysis. How do you have a structured, measurable way of doing a personal assessment? And this was it. It struck me the minute I was introduced to it many, many years ago. It struck me. We have to do this in our personal life. So even in my first book, there's a SWOT analysis, and that's way back in 2014. I introduced it. There's a youth leadership development program that I had as part of the curriculum in Prince George County for our young kids to use SWOT analysis for themselves, to do that self-analysis that's required in order for you to advance. You can look at this, and we talked about in January about mindset. It's so important for us to have an open mindset, because in that mindset, you have to look at your weaknesses, and you can't look at them as weaknesses, so to speak, areas of development, improvement, advancement. Look at it from that perspective. Also look at your weaknesses, just like you said, and see who if you're the CEO of your life, who in your boardroom creates a strength where that weakness is for you. So sometimes it's not necessarily that you would change your own weak areas, but it's imperative that you create a network around you that fills in those insignificant areas where you're having insufficiencies. You want to make sure that you have someone on your team. So if you're not a good salesperson, and we're talking about business development, if you're not a great salesperson, you need someone on your team that is great at sales. If you're not good at getting grants or finding money, you want to have someone on your team that knows how to find the money. Where's the money at? If there's certifications or there's a needs, proficiencies or anything like that, you need someone who can look at the skill set of your team and find out, where are you missing? Where are the gaps in your performances? And so that's where you want to look at weaknesses from that perspective as well. And a mindset is critical when it comes to threats. Don't look at threats as threats. Look at them for opportunities, right? So we talk about the boardroom, the CEO, and the CEO concept, and who's in your boardroom. Well, this is the thing where you said, Nathaniel, you're going to have to look at your network and see who needs to be fired, and then based on the skills and needs analysis, who needs to be hired in the place of those individuals. And it does mean who's influencing you. So when you think about the boardroom concept, those are your advisors. Those are your advisors, your influencers. And that means that there are different boardrooms. You have your personal boardroom, who are personal advisors to you in your personal life. Then you have financial advisors that are speaking to you about all things money, right? Spiritual advisors. So you have different boardrooms. So you have to understand, as a CEO, you're not operating with one boardroom, because there's different domains in your life. And so you have to look at all of those boardrooms and all those networks and say, where are there threats? Where are there opportunities? Where do I have strengths? And where do I have weaknesses? And you have to begin to address it there. And like you said, Nathaniel, it is very difficult because we get so comfortable and complacent in relationships that we make excuses. We justify. We justify that because it's easier to not disrupt things, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, are you willing to compromise? Because with the women that I spoke to in Dubai, I said to them, time is of the essence. We're at time is of the essence, and depending on where you are in your life and what it is that you plan on accomplishing before you leave this earth, some of you need to operate in accelerated mode, super accelerated mode, and some of you still got a little time. But time is not always your friend if you are complacent. Before you know it, you'll look up and this year will be gone and you will not have accomplished it. That's why this first quarter review is so critically important. And you got to get serious. And for those who are of us who are serious, in a minute, you're going to look up and we're going to be gone and you're going to be wondering why. How did that happen? Well, that happened because when we're speaking and we're constantly saying, let's do these things that are necessary for you to level up. You've said yesterday, tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. What's the guy that used to say, can I have a hamburger today?
Yeah.
Then I'll pay you on Tuesday. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. So we're saying it's time is of the essence. So it's so important for you to do this overview, to take this time to do the assessment, to check in, just do a post and say, hey, have I been, hold yourself accountable, because that's what this self-awareness thing really is about. You got others that will hold you accountable, but who can hold you even more accountable than yourself when you really, really want to accomplish the goals that you're setting out to accomplish for the year? The biggest person, the one who really, really cares about what it is that you want to do, is always going to be you.
Yep.
Is always going to be you. That's why I say your why must make you high. If it does not make you high, then you're not going to be addicted enough to getting the results that you're looking for. I know you have a hard stop sign, so I want to say to you, what are your closing thoughts? We've provoked them, I believe, enough today to do that necessarily assess. And we have all month long to talk about SWOT. We have all month long to share with our audience about different resources that we can provide them. But we are talking about the self-assessment
Yeah.
and evaluation of the first quarter. Share your closing thoughts.
Well, I guess I would close on what you just talked about, your different boardrooms. So you have your board of directors for your health. You have your board of directors for your finances, but understand that they're not just they're not they're independent, yet they're interdependent. So at some point, even though you got these isolated boards that are working on behalf of you in those areas, you have to call together the full board of directors and have them all give advice and guidance in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. So, and I guess an example I would give there is you can have an attorney that's going to give you great legal advice, but that attorney can't give you financial advice. So at some point, you're going to have the attorney and the financial person sitting at the same table when you're having a conversation and say, this is what my objective is. You guys put your heads together and come back with some recommendations for me, because the lawyer's going to do it from their perspective. The financial person is going to do it from their perspective. The health person is going to do it from their perspective. So the trick is to get them all talking to each other.
Right.
So that they can find out what's best for you and give you option A, B, and C. And then you have to ultimately, as the CEO, make the decision.
Yeah, yeah, and we got to get you to that point where you're able to sit those kind of people around the table,
Yes.
have those conversations, and it starts with the small steps. Starts with being intentional. Now you just did. Now it's time to be intentional about what you're going to do and why you're doing it, and how it's going to get you to the next level, the next level in which you want to be able to operate in. And then it just like we said, knowledge is power, but it's more powerful when it's applied in your real life. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to say thank you. We are so looking forward to coming back again next week. This is the topic really the topic of the year, because it really goes in to say, this is the first quarter, but you need to be doing this after every quarter. You need to
Yes.
do a SWOT analysis every quarter. And even at the end of the week. So I always charge you to say, do it set your goals for the month, for the week, I do it for the day, for the week, for the month, and for the year. And so that way that they're measurable, they're manageable, and they're measurable as you go through the year. And so we just want to say thank you. We know that this was very practical
Yeah.
today, but it is designed to help you gain clarity and gain back control over your life, your career, or your business. We say it's the top of the week. Take center stage and own it. We are out.